Hi, my name's Luke, and I'm going to be doing a visual analysis of a few scenes from two different films. The first film I'll be discussing is the movie Alien. Alien is a sci-fi horror film directed by Ridley Scott and was released in 1979. The film tells the story of a crew on board a spaceship who discover hostile alien life on a foreign planet. I'll be analyzing some of the earlier sequences in the movie. One of the first scenes of the film shows the crew gathered around a large table having a meal. The bright central lighting allows all of the characters to be equally lit and doesn't draw specific attention to any particular character. The slow, sweeping shot around the table implies a sense of calmness and relaxation amongst the crew. Although the characters seem comfortable, the cool, neutral palette gives the environment a sterile and cold atmosphere. As the crew is piloting the ship, the camera stays close to each character and creates a sense that they're cramped into a tight space. The dark tones and lack of any harsh cascading light adds to the feeling of confinement and isolation as they drift through space. However, the camera remains relatively still and consistent, giving us the impression that the crew is in control and comfortable. In this scene, the crew's landing gear malfunctions as they attempt to land on a foreign planet. The resulting panic is enhanced by bright flashing lights, and the smoke creates a disorienting diffusion effect amongst the lighting. The once steady and serene camera movement becomes frantic and unpredictable. Although compositionally the camera is still using similar angles as the previous scene, the lighting, color shifts, and camera movement convey the dramatic change in pace as the crew attempts to regain control. Following their landing, the crew ventures out onto the planet. As soon as the doors open to the outside, the color and atmosphere change sharply. The neutral lighting immediately changes to a dim, oppressing blue, and the harsh lights of the ship enhance the sense of disorientation as the crew take their first steps onto the planet. This drastic shift in color and lighting makes it immediately apparent that the crew is no longer at ease. As they advance, we see massive wide shots of the planet showing a foreign spaceship and harsh, dark landscapes. The changes in composition and color do an excellent job of advancing the tonal shift occurring in the film at this point. The crew continues toward the ship, and once they're on board, the camera closes in once again. We can see that the only sources of light are coming from their headlamps and flashlights, and that their surroundings are otherwise pitch black and unlit. The use of lighting and camera work during this transition amplifies the idea that the crew is venturing further into danger and uncertainty. Ultimately, the visual choices in these scenes do an excellent job of conveying how quickly the crew finds themselves being thrust into completely unfamiliar territory. The next film that I'll be discussing is called Hereditary, a psychological horror film directed by Ari Aster that was released in 2018. Hereditary is the story of a grieving family trying to move forward after the death of the main character's mother. As the film progresses, it becomes apparent that forces outside of the family are attempting to manipulate the outcomes of their lives. The main character, Annie, builds and paints miniatures and dioramas for a living, and the director uses specific techniques throughout the movie to draw parallels between her work building miniatures and the lives of her and her family. Shots like this one show up frequently and create the impression that the audience is looking in on someone else's life. The wide angles and stationary camera position, along with the frequent choice to slowly zoom in towards center frame, reinforce this unsettling feeling that the audience is looking in through the window of a dollhouse, and that the characters in the film aren't completely in control of their own lives. The unsettling cinematography contrasts with the color and lighting. The camera angles often create a sense of uneasiness or dread, while the lighting and color palette throughout the home is typically warm and comfortable. This visual contrast conveys the idea that the characters in the film are living relatively normal lives, unaware of what's going on behind the scenes, while the audience is granted a sort of omniscient perspective as to what lies ahead. Scenes like this show how using similar camera techniques with still frames and wide angles can achieve the same atmosphere even though the scene takes place outside the home. Shooting the scene from a distance creates a distorted sense of scale, enhancing the dollhouse effect that's prevalent throughout the film. In this scene in particular, even the light that flicks on as the car moves up the driveway subtly implies that the characters are being observed. The director uses plenty of other camera techniques depending on what the scene calls for. In this scene, two characters are engaged in an intense argument. The choice to keep the camera up close and to cut back and forth during the dialogue brings the audience into the conflict and allows them to feel the tension building between the characters. If the director had chosen to shoot this scene in the same style as the previous scenes, the outcome would be completely different and the emotional impact of the scene would be lacking. In the end, the director's use of subtle visual techniques ties the film together in a cohesive way that makes you catch new things every time you watch it. Okay, thanks for watching. That's all I got. Bye.